Well, it has been quite a gap, hasn't it, between this and the last DIY solution video. Sorry about that. Life has sort of got in the way. Yeah, a lot has changed since then, including our music. Yeah, that's pretty different now, isn't it? Go organs and electric violins, eh? So, in our part one of the DIY solution, why you should be putting on your own gigs, we went over why you want a space that's yours and yours alone. And what we mean by that is that there's no minimum spend at the bar, there's no ticket quotas, there's no pressure from anybody else to deliver on some other financial objective. You just want a space that's dry hired and it's just for you to do whatever you want with. What that means is you probably don't want a pub or a bar, which when you're a small band, that's your number one choice for music venues normally. Now, does that mean we don't want you to support small music venues? Of course it doesn't mean that. But you can't get around the fact that when there are too many bands and too few places to play, like we said in the previous video, you really can't blame these small businesses for choosing bands who are a safer bet. The people that they know are going to pull in 50, 60 people on a Friday night and who are going to be drinking all evening. They want to make money at the end of the day, and you can't blame them for that. So if you're quite new to the scene, or you've got a niche, unstable following, you really don't know how many people you're actually going to draw in, or if you're doing something that's quite weird and left field, that might, say it's experimental music, that might drive out some of their customers who came for rock and roll. Ooh, I just knocked my microphone there. Our solution is probably the one for you. You probably want this DIY business rather than going into a pub and scaring them all off with your theremin music or whatever it is. So when you're finding a venue, the golden rule is to keep your eyes open and be as imaginative as you possibly can be. Did your friend mention a large lockup that he owns that maybe he wouldn't mind you using? Has there been a new rehearsal studio open up that has quite a large practice room and they wouldn't mind you bringing a few mates down and having a live music party? Or what about that hipster art gallery that your girlfriend drags you to when she wants to be all cultured and artistic and you have to look at like upturned urinals and scribbles on a canvas? Maybe they might be cool with you dry hiring one of their smaller rooms. This is actually exactly what we did for our first DIY We Are the Underground night. We did it in a tiny art gallery space. Because, there's no bar there. They had no expectations other than, hire the room, don't trash it, please. Brilliant. Jobs are good. So pursue any and every avenue. Now, a lot of them are going to come up dud. You are going to end up with some disappointments. You're going to end up with a lot of people going, get lost, you're crazy. I'm not letting you do that in my property. But to put on a gig, all you need is one place to say yes, right? So just keep asking. Keep looking, pursue any and every possibility that comes your way, and you will find something eventually. Your ideal space is going to be small, very small, because it's better to pack out a tiny space than to maybe half fill a larger space. If you had to turn people away from your little broom cupboard because it was full, that's good marketing. It's much better to do that than to take the risk, again, especially if you're doing slightly more left field stuff or you're very, very new to what you're doing. It's better that than 5 people turn up in this big empty warehouse space and there's one person standing here, one person standing here, and they're going, this is a bit dead, isn't it? Yeah? 20 people in a small space, all squished together, makes for good photos, makes for good publicity, that you had to turn people away. That you had to say, hey, sorry, we're full. People like that. People like scarcity. The other important thing is that you want your space to be away from anybody that you might disturb. We're based in London, and what we're finding is that even in the supposed entertainment district, places like Camden, Soho, places where historically there was a lot of live entertainment going on, that sector of the market is coming up against the residential factor in all of those areas. You know, they're really rubbing each other the wrong way. People are very sensitive about noise in big cities these days, at least that's what we're finding. So in order for you to not attract unwanted attention, it's probably best if you do something that's a bit tucked away. Forget about doing it in the centre of your city unless you're very, very lucky with a space that you find. I say it's better to travel for a really cool party, a really cool experience, to go across the city, go to a suburb outside of the main centre, somewhere you're not going to disturb anybody. Like I say, it's worth it for a good party, and our experience has been people are willing to travel for that. It's just better all round. Also, on that note, do your own legal research on what exactly you're getting yourself into. I'm not an expert in that field. I don't really want to give anyone any advice, mostly because I wouldn't say I'm ignorant, but I'm not an expert. I don't know what you're planning. There's far too many variables there. The bottom line just is, do your own research and do all of this at your own risk. Some of the risk factors to think about are number of guests. You know, what's this going to look like to somebody looking in? Is it going to look like a house party, or is it going to look like a rave that's going out of hand? You know, you've got to decide on a limit number of guests, stick to it. Again, better to turn people away than to let it get out of hand. Are there going to be drinks? Are people going to be bringing drinks in? Are you going to be selling them? That's a whole other kettle of fish. If you're going to do that, do it legally. Don't take any risks there. That's a whole lot of hot water you can get into. Again, touching on that idea of what does your event look like from the outside? Does it look like a bunch of troublemakers? Or does it just look like a bunch of friendly people having a good time? You know, really do think about that. If your event should rub someone up the wrong way, can you talk your way out of it? Can you appear like you're not there to cause trouble? Because you're not. But people need to realise that. People need to realise that you're just there to put on some music for some friends and for some friends of friends. You're not there to make money. You're not there trying to run an illegal rave that's bringing in tax-free cash or anything like that. You're not there to encourage the use of illegal substances or to disturb people. You know, you really, really want to make sure that whatever you're doing is friendly and is clean. Just keep it nice. Just, golden rule, do unto others, etc. It's not that hard, especially if you're somewhere where people hopefully aren't going to be hearing the noise you're making in the first place. So just think about the level of risk you're willing to accept. You know, you're going to sell tickets. Is it going to be come one, come all, up to a certain point? What are you going to do? Guest list, etc. Just things to think about. Building on that, how you choose to market this, again, is up to you. More because I don't know who's watching this, if anybody. I don't know what your social circle is like. I don't know what kind of expectations there are in your band's genre or what you do as an artist. But I'm willing to bet that personal invitation is probably going to be the thing that brings most people in. Like we said, it's a house party vibe more than it is a big gig or event vibe. So a personal invitation, hey, my mate's putting this thing on in this really cool little spot. Why don't you come with me on Saturday night? That's going to get people in. It's not going to be so much your Facebook ads. It's not going to be so much your random flyers up here and there. It's really, really going to be mates and mates of mates that's going to form the bulk of your initial crowds coming in. Crowds. I forgot what I was going to say next. It's almost like I'm looking at a script, isn't it? I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I'm just looking at this random spot on my wall over there. Ultimately, what you want to try and do is create an experience that is not your average night out. And the great thing is you can actually achieve this. You know, you can do something that's more personal than a club night or a big gig, and something that is for a lot of people far more entertaining than just sitting with your mates in the pub or sitting and, having a beer and a pizza at home with a few friends. Personally, I think this is the future for small bands like mine, and probably like yours if you're watching this, because the internet has shown us that there is really a niche for everything if you're willing to build it. And that includes your music and the kind of live experience that only you can create. When you're doing this, really, really think about what can we do, what can we put on that nobody else could. Even if the production values aren't high, what can we deliver that is totally unique and fun and relatable and that connects with the people who come to see us. So that's a few thoughts I had on finding a space for your little DIY venture. In our next video, we're going to go through some practicalities of how to transform your space into a mini gig venue. So that's live sound, that's lights, amps, drum kits, how to do it maybe without being heard too much, without risking disturbing people. There's a little bit of an art to that. So stay tuned for the next one. Hopefully it won't be a year till we make that, and we'll see you then. Good night.